Welcome to your Daily 5 for Thursday, November 14th, 2024. There is an interview with director Ridley Scott over in the Hollywood Reporter, which I'll link to in the show notes, of course, that is filled with some fascinating statements from the director of Alien, Blade Runner, and Gladiator. And among the many gems that you can get, and honestly, I was kind of laughing at times reading it because Ridley Scott is... He is a man with opinions, I'll say it like that. But I had been linked to it because over on Blue Sky, somebody had mentioned that Ridley Scott had left the door open to making another Alien movie to follow Alien Covenant. And in this article, he says that Covenant is the one that's most naturally open to a sequel in his opinion. Whether he would do it or not is vague, but I think so based on other things he says in the article, because it ends with the people in cryo and David with the killer alien eggs. And honestly, now I know that opinion on Prometheus and Covenant are very, very divided. They are not generally regarded as great films, certainly not as great as Alien. And while I would agree with that statement itself, I like Prometheus and Covenant. And of course, I've talked many times, and we'll use this excuse to talk about once more, the fan edit by Job Willens that is titled Paradise. It is absolutely phenomenal. And if nothing else, I would love Ridley Scott to make a third film to provide a conclusion that would be in that fan edit. This is one of the reasons I love fan edits so much. I've talked about them before, but it's been a little while. So in case there are people who are finding the show recently or did not hear any of those other shows, I fell into love with fan edits some years ago, and I have remained in love with them because I think in many cases they can provide a much better version of a movie, especially movies that have trouble productions or that didn't get the kind of proper treatment they should have. Fan edits can often salvage these movies and make them so much better. And in particular, the two I would reference over and over and over would be Paradise, which I already talked about, which is a absolutely magnificent reworking and blending of Prometheus and Alien Covenant, and the Spice Diver edit of Dune, which runs about 3 hours, where a lot of the excised material that was shown on television is updated, improved, and put back into a much longer film. But of course, I have a sweet spot for David Lynch's Dune, and I like the movie even as is, which many people don't. They just don't know what they're missing. But in particular, back to Ridley Scott and Alien, I would love to see a Covenant third movie made, if for no other reason. Number one, I mean, even Ridley Scott's worst films are visually beautiful. Prometheus and Covenant are wondrous to look at. And there's a lot of good stuff in there. I think the biggest problem, and we've talked about this before on the main shows, and I think I've mentioned it on Fives, biggest problem with Prometheus and Alien Covenant is the fact that the alien part doesn't really make a lot of sense. But if you cut a lot of that stuff out, go watch Paradise, and you see the movies where they're more centered on David, who was obviously the real thing Ridley Scott was interested in. Gee whiz, why do so many of his movies have androids that tend to be some of the more fascinating characters? I wonder. Then when you watch it and you see it edited in a way that focuses on David, it's suddenly a much better film. And you do see these really interesting things where it was clear that Ridley Scott has these kind of echoing ideas and that he has these movies planned much more than some people might think. And again, I think that the alien part is really what destroys a lot of what is good about those movies. So I hope he makes a third film. I hope he makes a third film. I'd love him to get the Fassbender, and I don't remember the actress's name from Covenant, but she was very good. I liked her in it. So get them back, complete the story in whatever way he thinks he wants to, and if it's less than stellar, then I have a high degree of confidence that others will come in and salvage what is there. So you know what? My opinion on certain things when it comes to sequels, most of the time I think just keeping things going is a bad idea, but there are exceptions to that rule. And one of them is when you have somebody like Ridley Scott who will always deliver the visuals, particularly in science fiction, then let him come back and make whatever he wants. And if it isn't that great, then others will come in. They will pick up the shards of this beautiful work that wasn't quite glued together properly, and they will do the rest of the work for him, and they will deliver something that is more likely to be interesting than a disappointing film, even from somebody who has a great artistic vision. So I am all for Ridley Scott coming back and doing a third Alien film as a direct follow-up to Covenant. I don't know if it's going to happen. He is 87. Lots of things can happen in the process of trying to bring it back. It may just never happen. But honestly, of all the sequels that they always plan all the time, this is one that I would absolutely be in favor of seeing. So I hope it happens. We'll just have to see. Later.